Well, hello everyone. It is Friday, 11/11/22. I am Delbridge, Benchmark Realty, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. This is your Status Chat. Today also happens to be Veterans Day, so a shout out to all those who have served in our military and armed forces, and also across the planet over in China. This is also, coincidentally, Bear Sticks Day, or 11/11. That's a holiday setup where they try to match up singletons together. I'm not really sure when that started, but I do know that that is the case. Now, in SEC football, we have the Alabama Crimson Tide playing in Oxford against Ole Miss, and that should be a very rowdy game. I don't know necessarily that the Tide is a shoe-in for the win. They've been on some difficult times lately, and this week, Mr. Saban had announced that he was defending his coordinators on the offensive and defensive side, and he wasn't planning on making any changes there. Well, I'll leave that discussion for another time, but this week we have something to talk about, and we'll take you to that screen. If you like this content, please go to calldeltosell.com, find the tab that says on YouTube, click it, and it'll open up a page of QR codes. There you can use a smartphone to scan and get to the YouTube page, or you can just mouse over and click it on a PC. There you'll be able to subscribe to this little button over here and click the notification bell so that YouTube will notify you when each Friday's blog has been uploaded. Thank you. So if I am recording, as I think I am, we'll get right to that. Now over here we have, let me slide this up at the top. It is from Mortgage News Daily, and this was Dateline of yesterday with Mr. Matthew Graham having put his 2 cents in. And we did have a dip in rates, about of a half a point, a little bit more than that. And what he's saying is, you may be tired of hearing it just now important Thursday's CPI, or Consumer Price Index, would be. Now, the short version of this is the mortgage markets reacted favorably, and we dropped our daily rate. The weeklies, however, remain unchanged because they don't come out, I don't think, just every single day, hence the word weekly. Now, they said, well, we had 3/10 versus 5/10 forecast, so that's better, and that was less than the 6/10 of the previous month, and we go on down there, and they make a big deal out of how great this sounds. Now, quite honestly, I'll put this out there in the description of the Status Chat over on the YouTube page where this can be found, but I have to tell you, I'm not as optimistic, and it's not because I'm a negative Nelly, it's just simply because we're looking at the CPI. The thing is, the Fed doesn't. The Fed looks at the PCE. What do you say we check that right now? Let's type in, what does the Fed use for inflation? It uses the PCE, which is a completely different index. Now, we're still nowhere near 2% over time, so any idea or delusion that rates are going to come down more than just maybe a reactionary as everyone tries to time the market, I think is a little bit foolish at this point in time. It was just a one-day drop. Now, it looked beautiful, and I'm all for good news. But I'm not seeing anything in the overall economic plan that's going to make us do that. Our labor rate is still very, very high. We are beginning to see some layoffs, but not nearly enough. And again, the PCE or the CPI still remains stubbornly high. And I don't see much in recent events that's going to suggest we're going to have a change. It does look like we might have a change of power in the House, in the lower chamber. The lower chamber is whereby the Constitution all spending bills must originate, so that's a good thing because it was spending the money that got us in this mess in the first place. We also have another bit of good news for most, maybe not all, but it was declared unconstitutional, I believe, that the president does not have the authority to forgive debt because that would be a purview of Congress, which now rests in other people's hands. However, there appears to be some uncertainty. We still don't know the final counts. For some reason, we've gotten worse in recent decades about not being able to report a winner on the final day, the last day of voting, so I'm not sure where we're going. But we know that we use a PCE, which is not the CPI. And we can crow all day long about how that looks and how we're feeling positive, and that can lead people to want to jump the gun to be the first ones to change. But ultimately, I don't really see that we woke up in a brand new world the following day. So where are we going to go from here? We don't know. That's why it's important for you to keep up with me and me with you so that we can see what's going on. Now, we talked last week about the buy down, difference between the traditional buying of points and the stepped buy down, which goes away after that an introductory period. And that's still going to be the case. Discussion earlier today came about, should you buy down or should you just delay buying? Well, that's not really it's not really a good question, is it? Because one of them is buying, not buying or buying, but buying under a specific circumstance. And the truth is, neither you nor I nor anybody else really knows what's going to happen in the future. I think we can guess based upon the conditions the nation are in. We still have a tragically short amount of diesel fuel stockpiled. I think we still have a potential rail strike out there going on. In Europe, they're predicting fuel shortages for winter heating, and that's not giving anybody a warm and fuzzy feeling, pun intended. But what are we going to do? So what is really different today than it was yesterday or the day before? Not a whole lot. So I'm waiting to see what happens in the next Fed meeting. That's my next thing. And if they act differently, if they only go a half a point to signal that we've hit some sort of peak, we'll see that. But I don't think 1 month's numbers should be overreacted to, whether they be positive or negative. So keep your eye on what the daily rates are and what we can get, and we need to keep an eye on what your buying power is, because this is going to affect a lot of things. We do know that the market in our area is down about 30%, which is significant, which is a nice segue to the numbers. So let's get to them. Hello, I'm Delbridge of Benchmark Realty, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. If you are currently unrepresented and would like to know how to compare up to 3 properties side by side and room by room, then go over to my new YouTube channel, Call Del to Sell. That's 1 L and Del, no spaces. Watch the demo on Real Scout, and then call me and we'll set up your exclusive ad-free account today. Last week, 11/4/22, we had 18,981 in the opportunities in the Real Scout system. That was an increase over the previous period. We had 3362 in the under contract still showing, and that decreased slightly over the preceding period. And the integer ratio between those two numbers was 18%. It fell a percentage point from the week prior. This week, 11/11/22, we have 19,250 in the opportunities. That was also an increase over the previous week. And we had 34,389 in the under contract still showing. That also reversed and increased just a little bit. And now we have the integer ratio between those two numbers at 18%, unchanged over the previous period. So what should we do? Well, we should remain positive, and we should look for the type of things that we can do in these uncertain times to maximize the position. Now, if you're buying, it's always good to have a real estate professional who can put in backup offers just in case some sort of financing thing fell through. You might actually be in luck at someone else's untimely misfortune. Also, if you are needing your home sold, there are some things that we can do while taking offers from people. So the world is not snapped off its axis. We'll certainly take this week's events as being a positive sign, but I think we need to keep an eye out on the situation and see what happens in the long run. That's why you need to keep up with me, and I need to keep up with you. Reach out and talk to me. You can get to me by any of the things you see streaming on this video below, and we'll see you next week.